Welcome, everyone, to Intensity Broadcasting for tonight's coverage of the SCSRA Xfinity Series. Tonight, these Xfinity cars will be taking on the Lady in Black, Darlington Raceway, for 180 laps of racing action. I'm going to be your announcer for tonight, Atlee Atman-Weiss, and I'm excited to call every second of the coverage of tonight's Southern 245. Now, last week we did not have a broadcast. It was an off week for Valentine's week. But the week before that, we were at the new Atlanta Motor Speedway, where Austin Blaylock grabbed his second win of the season. Austin Blaylock showed why he is one of, if not the best super speedway racers in this league by leading 33 of the 140 laps. We saw Will Witt finished second. He led 21 laps. Third was Colin Willems. He finished 16th. Also, by the way, Austin Blaylock, he started in second. Finishing fourth was Jeffrey Belk, and rounding at your top five, that was Eddie Morris, who led 12 laps. Other lap leaders include Devin Butchno, who finished sixth and led 1 lap. Joe Tardif, who finished seventh and led 20 laps. Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence, who finished 9th and led 3 laps. Brian Nudie, who finished 12th and led 9 laps. Brett Merle, who finished 13th and led 13 laps. Dave Wright, who finished 15th and led 11 laps. And Jonathan Goke, who finished 16th and led 11 laps. So now heading into tonight's event, here is a look at our point standings. We only have 3 races left in the regular season. The pressure to make the playoffs is on. So right now, Colin Willems, he leads the point standings. He's grabbed 1 win this season. He's got a 10-point lead over Devin Butchno. I will say this, if Colin does have a bad race tonight, then Devin Butchno could definitely decrease that gap between him and Colin and potentially take the point standings lead. Austin Blaylock currently sits 3rd in the points. 4th is Brian Nudie. 5th is Eddie Morris. In 6th, that is Jeffrey Belk. 7th is Dustin Dean. 8th is Joe Wright. 9th is Brian Merle Jr. And rounding at your top 10 in the points, that is Josh Hall. Now, here is a look at the current cutoff for the playoffs. Top 12 will make the playoffs. So we currently have 13 eligible drivers. And right now it's Brett Merle, Dave Wright, and Derek Chaput on the cutoff line. Now currently Brett, he sits 12th, and 8 points separate him and Dave. So tonight's event could very well dictate who will get in and who will not. And actually, I will say this, Brett Merle is not in the session, but Dave Wright is. So and Brett Merle, he has already missed 1 race. If he misses another one, he'll be right on the cusp of not being able to make the playoffs. I will say this, Brett Merle is missing tonight because him and his wife just had a baby. So congratulations to the Merle family on their new bundle of joy. Crazy how both Merle brothers had children in a very short time gap. So I think Brian, his was a little bit earlier in February, while Brett was a little bit more recent. So congratulations to both of the Merle brothers on their new bundles of joy. And hopefully we can get Brett back in the series soon. All right, here's a look at qualifying right now. Jeffrey Belk on the top of the board with a 13.11. That will put him 0.3 ahead of second place Colin Willems. Third is Joe Wright, who ran a 30.52, and that put him 0.4 off of Jeffrey Belk. The only other time the SCSRA ran here in this Xfinity Series, Jeffrey Belk won that race. Now, I do want to quickly talk about some of the things unique about tonight's event. Tonight's event is double points. So a little bit more of an incentive to do well here tonight. It can definitely help you in your fight to get a high position in the playoffs and get some playoff points. And also, you might notice that some drivers are not running their normal paint schemes. That is because tonight is throwback night because we are at Darlington. So I've already kind of been seeing some cool throwbacks, and at one point in this race, we'll have to go through and look at all of them and see which one is the best. There isn't a contest like there was last time. So we see right now Colin Willems able to get to third with a 30.45. That will put him 0.3 off of first place, Jeffrey Belk. Also want to talk a little bit about the team standings here in the SCSRA. Teams very important. Right now, CCM leads the way in the team standings. They've gotten 5 wins this season. That's right, they've gotten 5 wins. 3 of those wins coming from Brian Nudie, and the other 2 coming from Austin Blaylock, who won 2 weeks ago. Neon Racing currently sits second in the standings. They've gotten 1 win this season, and that came from Devin Butchno. Third in the standings is Wasted Wages Racing. They've gotten 1 win this season, and that came from Colin Willems. Fourth is Intensity DBC Racing. They've gotten 1 win this season, and that came from Jeffrey Belk. Rounding out your top 5 in the standings is Cheeseburger Motorsport. The highest running Cheeseburger Motorsport driver is Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence, who currently sits 14th in the standings. He's gotten 2 top 10s this season. And lastly, the highest driver among the independents in the standings, that is Edward Manning, who sits 19th. He's ran 3 races, no top 5s, no top 10s. Now, this time I want to talk a little bit about our series sponsor, Dev's Sports Cards. Dev Sports Cards was established in 2013 by SCSRA driver and Neon Racing team owner Devin Butchino. Dev Sports Cards specializes in all your sports cards and gaming cards needs, from football, baseball, and basketball cards to Pokemon. Dev Sports Cards sells it all. On their eBay store, you can find a wide variety of items, from high-end sports cards to their weekly 99-cent starting bid 7-day auctions. Don't have time to sell your own cards? Reach out to Devin and ask about his consignment services. Simply package them up, ship them out, and Devin will get them listed, sold, and then you get paid. Dev Sports Cards can be found on eBay with 4,000 plus positive feedback, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Dev Sports Cards is a proud sponsor of the SCSRA series and Intensity Broadcasting. So thank you so much to Dev Sports Cards and Devin Butchno for sponsoring this series. Definitely consider checking them out if you were into sports cards or want to give someone a gift if they like sports cards. I've actually put the link to his eBay store in the description, so you can go check him out. Got some chat activity on Facebook. Dayton Lee says, "Hey, Bennett Jewett, thanks for tuning in." Dayton Lee says, "Atlee, did you say Jonathan Goke led laps?" He did. Jonathan Goke led 11 laps 2 weeks ago at Atlanta. He started on the pole, but he ended up finishing last after getting involved in an incident. It was a rough go at it for Jonathan Goke. He is not in the race tonight. Bennett Jute says he sounds so professional. He will make a great announcer for sure. Thank you for the kind words, Bennett, and thank you so much for tuning in. Great to have you watching us here tonight, which is for a great race coming up. Always great action here at Darlington. It's never over into the last lap here. Dayton says, does he also run glamour shots by Dev? I'm actually not sure. I would not doubt that. See Brian Nudie to the top of the board with a 29.97. And that will put him about a 10th ahead of second place, Jeffrey Belk. Third is Dave Wright with a 30.38, which puts them about 4/10 off of first place, Brian Nudie. And there's Devin Butchno crossing the start-finish line. and his time will not count unless he is just now beginning his first lap. Remember, if you make any sort of contact with anything or lose control of the car, it will forego your lap. So even if you tap the wall barely, and even if you got a 0x, it will still forego your lap. So you got to be extremely careful. And I mean, it's so hard to get through this track for even 2 laps without making contact with that outside wall just because you're running so close to it. So shout out to the drivers that were able to turn some good lap times and keep the car clean. See Eddie Morris to second with a 30.03. That will put him about 500ths off of first place, Brian Nudi. Intensity Broadcasting is proud to be partnered with the Butt Kicker. And for those of you who don't know what the Butt Kicker is, let me tell you a little bit about them. Butt Kicker is the established and trusted leader in gaming haptics. The award-winning line of Butt Kicker products lets users feel ultra-low-frequency sounds. Their products are used and endorsed around the world by leading PC and console gamers, including professional sim racers. The patented design makes them incredibly accurate, powerful, and virtually indestructible. The Gamer Plus is the new and upgraded sim racing and gaming hardware that reproduces immersive, accurate, and powerful sim racing, flight sim, and gaming effects. To check out the full line of Butt Kicker products and figure out which one is right for you, visit thebuttkicker.com. Again, thebuttkicker.com is the website belonging to the established and trusted leader in gaming haptics. Thank you so much to the Butt Kicker for partnering with us. They make fantastic products. If you are an iRacer, you definitely need to pick one up. I always make sure to use mine when I'm on iRacing, and it really makes for an awesome experience. It's iRace in real life, and it's the closest I've ever felt to racing in real life. On the sim, you can feel every little thing, every bump, every gear shift. You can feel it all. It's like iRacing in a 4D movie theater, so definitely consider picking up a Butt Kicker. So there we go. That will do it for qualifying. And we are now gridding for tonight's feature event. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. Starting on the pole with a scorching hot lap time of 29.973. Driver for CCM in that 40 car, that is Brian Nudi. Outside of him, it's his teammate in the 8 car, that is Eddie Morris. Third is the Intensity DBC number 54 of Jeffrey Belk. Fourth is Dave Wright in the 84, and rounding at your top 5 in that number 13. Driver for Neon Racing, that is Brian Merle Jr. In 6th, one out of 2 Canadians in the field. Driver for Wasted Wages Racing, that is Colin Willems in the 17. 7th is our other Canadian in the 37, Colin's teammate, Derek Chaput. 8th is CCM's Joe Wright in the 82. 9th in that 47 car is Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence. And rounding at your top 10, it is Neon Racing's Devin Butchno. He's going to be in that 68 car. 11th is Intensity DBC Racing's Josh Hall in the 81. 12th is that 43 machine of David Hartney. He also drives for Intensity DBC Racing. And there we go. That will round out your field. 12 drivers. All of them with a chance to win. As we're pacing, let's talk about the keys of the race here tonight. I will say tires. Save your tires. Whoever can save their tires the best, they are going to be successful. This is a tough track, so it's going to be very, very important to hit your marks. And also the driver who will make the least amount of mistakes will be the best. And lastly, pit road. I believe we're going to have a green flag pit stop or 2 here tonight. So drivers need to be really, really confident with their entry onto pit road, especially because I will say this, it is one of, if not the hardest pit roads to enter for oval racing here on iRacing. There we go. Pace car is in. The field is set. Green flag is out. The Southern 245 is underway here at Darlington. There's Brian Newty. He leads the field into turns 1 and 2. We see Eddie Morris tucks in line behind him. Jeffrey Belk in third. Eddie Morris, Brian Newty teammates. We'll see how clean they run each other. But look at that. Newty extending his gap between him and his teammate on the backstretch. And now the battle is on for that second place spot. Watch out for Jeffrey Belk. The last time the SCSRA Xfinity Series was here, he won the race. So trying to continue his streak of Darlington race wins here tonight for the Southern 245. He chases Eddie Morris heading through turns 1 and 2. Try not to tag that outside wall, which we're going to see frequently throughout tonight's event. And we see Belk getting loose off of turn number 2. That costs him some momentum and allow Eddie Morris to extend that gap between him a little bit. But Jeffy's got to shake that off and keep digging in pursuit of Eddie Morris. I'm telling you, that is who's going to win tonight's event. Whoever can make the least amount of mistakes, which Darlington does not make it easy to do that. A lot of times, these drivers are not racing the other cars on the track. They are racing the track. Jeffrey Belk kind of shook off getting loose there and getting back into a rhythm as he chases down Eddie Morris. Jeff trying to prevent well, actually, there will not be able to be a CCM 1, 2, 3 because there's not 3 CCM drivers, but still trying to make it so that maybe there won't be a CCM top 2 if he can get by Eddie Morris here. See Eddie Morris running that Dale Jr. throwback. Elsewhere in the field, we see Colin Willems, Derek Chaput, Devin Butchino, David Hartney, all running extremely close together for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. We see Butchino looking low under Derek Chaput as they head off of turn number 2. There is that 43 machine of David Hartney trailing right behind Devin. All of these drivers really close together. We're just waiting on who was going to make the move first. 2 of these drivers are teammates, Colin Willems, Chaput, both drivers for Wasted Wages Racing. So they're going to run each other a little bit cleaner than, say, Chaput running against Belk or Belk running against Hartney. Just because, you don't want to wreck your teammate. And look at this. Joe Wright is joining the party as well. Butchino looking low under Chaput, heading into 3 and 4. He's under him, and he is clear. And Chaput trying to make a crossover, heading off of 4, and he is able to do that. What a move for Chaput, and now David Hartney pouncing on the opportunity. He's able to get low under Butchino. Looked like Butchino actually tagged the wall a little bit there. Joe Wright also trying to make a move, but Devin Butchino says, I'm going to close the floodgates, and he will not let Joe Wright get by him. So look at that. Devin Butchino losing 2 positions in a short amount of time. Fantastic crossover move there by Derek Chaput. Devin Butchino reeling in David Hartney now for 7th place. We saw David able to get by Devin after he tagged the wall there and lost some momentum. So Devin now just trying to get back into a rhythm, which is so hard to do after you mess up or do something because you're consciously thinking in your head, man, I don't want to do that again, man, I don't want to do that again. But you just got to forget about it and move on. And there we go. Butchino able to get low under David Hartney, heading off of turn number 4, side by side as they cross the stripe. And Joe Wright maybe also going to try to pounce on the opportunity as Butchino had the 43 up the track, but looks like Joe not able to get under the 43. So Devin Butchino is back in 7th place. Now Hartney all over the track, barely missed tagging the outside wall. He just loses a ton of momentum. And Joe able to get to 8th now, past that 43. And looks like Brian Merle Jr. also able to get past the 43 as well. So in a short amount of time, David Hartney has now fallen into that 10th place position. Field relatively spread out throughout this Darlington Raceway. Brian Newty, 8/10 lead over 2nd place Eddie Morris. right now, Brian Newty, he has showed up tonight here at Darlington, was extremely fast in practice, qualified on the pole, and so far he's led the first 11 laps of this race with little or no worry from everybody else behind him. But this is early in a tire run. Once those tires start to get worn, the car starts to get tight, and especially with how close you're already running against the wall, it's really hard to control that car. So I'm interested to see how Brian Newty is going to be able to handle his hot rod as the tires begin to wear. Right now, top 4 are exactly how we started this race. But that might change in a little bit as Colin Willems is reeling in Dave Wright for that 4th place position. Dave Wright has ran right in that very spot for this entire race, but Colin Willems says, let's change it up a little bit. Let's see if he can catch him. Devin Bucciano reeling in Derek Chaput for that 6th place position. Both of them running fairly identical laps. And as I say that, here's Joe Wright trying to get under the 68 for that 7th place spot. Oh, we saw Derek Chaput. Looks like he might have slipped off a 2. Bucciano taking advantage of that, and he is able to get by Chaput. Now Devin in that 6th place spot. Colin Willems, he has officially caught Dave Wright. He is not within striking distance yet, but he's getting closer and closer and closer. He's in his coattails. I think we're going to see that 84 and 17 nose to tail in a little bit. Joe Wright under Chaput for that 7th place position. He is to his door. They are equal, and Joe Wright is clear. Joe Wright now to 7th, and Derek Chaput, he falls to 8th. Elsewhere, Brian Merle Jr. trying to reel in David Hartney. Brian Newty has gotten his lead now to 1 second over Eddie Morris. Newty hoping to put on a clinic here tonight. But this is a long race, 180 laps. There's going to be a lot of other factors that are going to come into play all throughout this race that don't just involve pure speed. The tires, that's a big thing. Of course, pit strategy. I think this league is a very clean league. We typically rarely don't have any cautions, so I think pit strategy is going to come into play. Drivers coming in and making green flag pit stops. So right now, that'll be another factor. And then lastly, this is kind of an endurance race. 180 laps at Darlington. This is going to be a very, very long one. So towards the end of it, I think these drivers are going to be getting a little bit fatigued for staring at a screen for so long and moving their hands for so long. Of course, you're not sitting in a hot race car and you're not facing it. Oh, we see Brian Newty tag the outside wall there. As I was saying, though, of course, these drivers, since they're on iRacing, they're not facing the same G's and they're not in the same kind of heat that real NASCAR drivers are. But still, you know, you're moving your hands back and forth on that wheel. And, of course, you know, you're staring at a screen for a very, very long time. So towards, you know, the last 40, last 25 laps, these drivers are going to start to get fatigued. Hopefully everybody has used the bathroom coming into this race, because there's going to be little or no time to do that. Devin Bucciano, after Dave Wright lost his position to Colin Willems, now looks like he could potentially lose another one as that 68 car is reeling in. Mr. Dave Wright. Devin has been moving on up since the green flag dropped. He started this race in that 10th place spot, and here he is now in 6th, fighting to break into the top 5. Another big mover is David Hartney. He started in last, and he has now worked his way up to 9th. We'll say this, Derek Chaput came into the pits, and he ended up taking he took fuel and tires. So now, I believe Chaput has the freshest tires out of the entire field. Devin Bucciano in striking distance of that 84 machine. He's looking low on the front stretch, trying to set something up, maybe for 1 and 2. Dave Wright looking to see Devin Bucciano looking to see what Dave Wright's doing, where he's braking, where he's lifting, where he's getting back into the gas, what kind of line he's running, and where's going to be the best spot for him to make a pass. And typically the best spot where you're going to want to make the pass is where they are making the most mistakes. So if Dave's struggling on exit, then that's where Devin's going to want to make the move. Maybe if he's leaving a little bit of space on entry, then that's where Devin's going to want to make the move. But Devin Rowley's sitting behind that 84 machine. That's all kind of what he's studying to try to figure out how is going to be the best way he can make the move on Dave. Might not seem like it, but yes, race car drivers, they have to think a lot. You have to think about what you're doing, because it could either result in a and Dave Wright into the outside wall. Devin Bucciano says, I will take advantage of that, and he gets by him for that 5th place spot. Not what Dave Wright wanted to see, and looks like he's already got a Darlington stripe on that Jordan Toyota Supra. Oh, and looks like he taps it again there. Man, rough go at it right there for Dave Wright in a very short amount of time. Looks like he just pushed up a little bit off of 4 and right into that outside wall. Brian Newty, he now has a 4-second lead over second place Eddie Morris. That is incredible. Brian Newty searching for win number 4 here tonight. He's got the most wins among the drivers this season. The only driver that's come closest to him is Austin Blaylock, who's won 2 races. Brian Newty wins tonight. It'll have a 2-win gap between those two. And Austin Blaylock, he's not even in the race tonight. Devin Bucciano, Jeffrey Belk hard into the outside wall. Seems like he's struggling a little bit. Looks like he might have burnt off his tires a little bit. Belk goes below the track, giving that outside lane. And look at this. Jeffrey Belk coming into the pits here on lap number 26. And he has got a lot of damage on that 54 machine. I don't know if he burnt up his tires a little bit more than he would have liked or what, but we saw him really struggling there, losing multiple positions, and now he's going to lose pretty much every position you can lose as he comes into the pits. Only person that's not going to probably be able to get by him is Derek Chappie, who is 2 laps down. And looks like Jeffrey Belk just went down a lap. It looks like it's going to be 4 tires onto that 54 machine. And he's off. Brian Earl Jr., Michael Lawrence. About to say they were about to have a battle, but looks like that gap extends between those two. It's like Cheeseburger running about 4/10 faster than Jr. Joe Wright is into the pits now. We see that 82 also with a Darlington stripe. I'll say this. I think every single person at least once in this race is going to tag that outside wall. I think whoever's going to win this race is going to be who's going to tag that outside wall the least. And right now it's looking like Brian Newty has been that person so far, making little to no mistakes at a track where it's so easy to make mistakes. And looks like it was just a drink of fuel and some damage getting fixed for that 82 machine. He will exit pit road in 10th. Want to quickly talk about the track that we are racing at tonight. We are at Darlington Raceway. I'll tell you a little bit about it. The Lady in Black, the track that's too tough to tame. Those are two of the names, the polite ones anyway, that drivers and fans have given Darlington Raceway over the years. The oldest speedway on the NASCAR circuit, Darlington Raceway's egg-shaped configuration, one end is big and wide open, while the other is pinched tight, has been perplexing racing drivers and mechanics since it opened in 1950 with the inaugural running of NASCAR's Southern 500. The track was built on an old farm in the middle of rural South Carolina, and its unique shape is the legacy of a minnow pond that the farmer who owned the land wasn't willing to give up. Minnows still swim in that pond more than half a century later, and while lap speeds have risen to nearly 180 miles per hour, a car set up just right for one end of the 1.366-mile oval still won't handle on the other end. The fastest lap times are achieved with a compromise. The car isn't perfect at either end of the track, but a really talented driver can coax the car quickly enough through both sets of corners. A look at the list of race winners over the years confirmed that talents tells at Darlington. Few journeyman drivers have won at Darlington. Through the year, the winner's circle has mostly welcomed the sport's enduring stars. Those legendary drivers have dominated the competition, and at a track where it is so difficult to win even once, those who have unlocked Darlington's mysteries have been able to win again and again. When it comes to true Darlington legends, two drivers stand apart from the rest. Dale Earnhardt Sr. won 9 times. You never forget your first love, Earnhardt was quoted as saying. Whether it's a high school sweetheart, a faithful hunting dog, or a fickle racetrack in South Carolina with a contrary disposition, if you happen to be a race car driver, there's no victory so sweet, so memorable as whipping Darlington Raceway. With the most successful driver of all time and what is perhaps the most difficult track on the NASCAR circuit is David Pearson. The 60s and 70s ace known as the Silver Fox for his smooth style behind the wheel. 10 times at Darlington, Pearson outfoxed the other drivers in the track itself. If he'd won any more, they'd have to turn over the deed to the track to him. So there you go. That about sums up where we are racing at tonight. Darlington Raceway. Very historic track. But I would say its biggest quality, the biggest adjective you could give it, is difficult. Difficult, difficult, difficult. This is, I would say, the hardest racetrack that NASCAR goes on. Except for maybe some of the road courses. For oval racing, this is the hardest racetrack that NASCAR goes on. It is just so hard to get it figured out. And you just got to have immense respect for those who can. And right now, it seems like Brian Newdy has it figured out pretty well. He's got a 7-second lead over second place Eddie Morris. He is putting on a clinic so far through these first 35, about to be 36 laps. So far, Brian Newdy has put 5 drivers down a lap, 1 driver down 2 laps. Although we see Chappie trying to get one of those laps back. He is lurking right behind that 40 machine. Both drivers running very similar lap times. Newdy maybe about a 10th faster. Although Brian Newdy does have fresher tires. Joe Wright coming up on Josh Hall for that 10th place spot. He's able to get under in there side by side. Josh Hall still with the nose heading off of 4, but now Joe Wright leads by about a half car length, and now he is clear. Joe Wright is back into the top 10. We'll say this, Joe Wright has come into the pits. Josh Hall has not. Josh is running 33-second lap times. Oh no! Hard into the inside wall. He was hard into the outside wall. Tough break there for Josh Hall. Looks like Darlington thought Josh had it too easy and attacked him. Saw just hard into the outside wall and then hard into the inside wall. That'll put even more damage onto that 81 car that already had a little bit of damage. Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence into the pits here at Darlington. And looks like he is just going to come to a stop and reset. And he has manually disconnected. Fortunately for the Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence fans watching tonight, he is done. So it was a rough go at it there for Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence. I'm not sure exactly what happened to him, whether it was just the damage was too much or what, but he is done for the night. David Hartney is into the pits. Let's see what is going to be done to that 43 car. I will say this, keep this in mind. We will have a stage break at lap number 50. I repeat, a stage break at lap number 50. That will give drivers an opportunity to come in and take some tires, take some fuel, get all of the damage that you get from running here at Darlington, get it all fixed, and of course the field will be bunched back up. So we are about 9 laps away from that stage break, and because this is a little bit of a longer one, we will also have a second stage. So this race is going to be split up into 3 stages just like NASCAR. The second stage will come out at lap number 100, and that will lead us into an 80-lap shootout to finish out this race. Don't want to jinx anything, but so far we have gone caution-free. Drivers keeping it very clean. David Hartney sitting on the pit road for quite some time. This is definitely an extended pit stop from what he wanted. And David Hartney has also manually disconnected. So far, the Lady in Black has taken 2 victims through 42 laps. So we are down to 10 drivers in the field. Colin Willems into the pits. It looks like this is also an extended pit stop for that 17 machine. He's already gone down a lap. He's been sitting on... Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Colin there. Brian Newty, 4-second lead over second place Eddie Morris. We've got Dave Wright into the pits now. Currently only have 5 drivers on the lead lap here at Darlington. Dave Wright might go down a lap now that he's come in and pit. Yep, he's now gone down a lap. Devin Bucciano into the pits as well. Looks like Colin Williams is back on track after a 46-second pit stop. I think he got some tires, some fuel, and maybe some damage fixed as well. Dave Wright also just sitting on pit road. Looks like he's just getting some damage fixed. You see Devin Bucciano. It is just a gas and go for him. Drink of fuel, and he is going to be back out there. Only 3 cars on the lead lap now here at Darlington. Jeffrey Belk looking low under Brian Newty, and he is going to get his lap back. So now there's 4 cars on the lead lap. Got now 47 laps on the board. 3 laps until the stage break. When we reach that stage break, the top 10, which is currently everybody left on track right now, they will all get stage points, which will definitely help some in their pursuit of making the playoffs. I would probably say, though, that after this, Dave Wright will be in and Brett Merle will be out just because he is missing this race. Brian Merle Jr. into the pits now. Let's see what is going to be done to that 13 machine. And there's Derek Chaput looking low under Newty. He is going to get 1 of his 2 laps back. So now Chaput, he is down 1 lap. The fight for the lucky dog isn't too close. When the caution flag comes out, Devin Bucciano will be getting that lucky dog, and will be waved around the track just because he is the highest driver down a lap. Looks like Colin Williams able to get by Josh Hall, who still has not come in yet. And there we go. We have officially reached the stage break here at Darlington. I think Brian will make it one more trip around the track and then it will come out. Heading into the stage break, that is wild. 3 cars down a lap. Or 3 cars on the lead lap, excuse me. The rest of the field is down 1 lap or more. 2 drivers had manually disconnected. And Brian Nudie, he will win the stage, the first stage here at Darlington. There's the caution flag coming out. Eddie Morris second, Jeffrey Belk third, Devin Butchno fourth, Joe Wright fifth, Derek Chaput sixth, Brian Merle Jr. seventh, Colin Williams eighth, Josh Hall ninth, and Dave Wright is in 10th. David Hartney is back. And he is out of the pits after being in there for 5 minutes and 55 seconds. So it looks like we're going to get another car back on track. As he exits, he is 12 laps down. So we've only had 1 driver now that's manually disconnected. David Hartney is back in it, although I don't think he's going to have too big of a chance to win. So look at that. Pit road is on the backstretch, the entry at least, heading off of 2. As you can see, it's extremely tricky. Actually, no, that is not it. That's just another opening. There it is right there still. Look at that. You got to go all the way against the wall there. So there we go. We got 2 drivers into the pits. Whoever wins the race off of pit road will be your race leader. Brian Nudie, he has the advantage considering he has that first pit stall. Devin Butchno, Joe Wright, Derek Chaput all getting their laps back. So there you go. It's just Brian Nudie, Eddie Morrison, Jeffrey Belk in the pits right now. And looks like it is fuel and tires for all 3 drivers. Who will be the first out? And that is Brian Nudie. Brian Nudie wins the race off of pit road. Looks like both Eddie and Jeff are just sitting there getting all of their damage fixed. And there we go. Eddie Morris is off now. Jeff continues to sit there. Devin Butchno stayed out, so he will get the lead. As I say that, he now comes into the pits. Let's see what's going to be done to that 68 machine. And with Devin Butchno coming in, Brian Nudie will take the lead back here at Darlington. Wow. This has just been a absolutely dominating performance. As I say that, though, Eddie Morris will take the lead now here at Darlington. Why is Nudie dropping back? Jeffrey Belk gets by Nudie. Brian Nudie the third now. Not sure why Nudie dropped back there. So now Eddie Morris leads. And lights on the pace car are out. We are getting ready to go back green here. Let's see what Eddie's going to do here. Looks like he will elect to restart on the outside. The control car gets to choose where he wants to go, outside or inside, and he will elect to go to the outside. And pace car is in. Eddie Morris can go anywhere in the Geico restart zone. And green flag is back out here at Darlington. There is Eddie Morris taking on. He goes up to the gears, heading into turns 1 and 2. And already he has a decent gap between him and Jeffrey Belk. After everything that happened from the caution coming out in the stage break, we now have 6 cars on the lead lap. We went from 3 cars on the lead lap to 6. We got 1 car a lap down, a few down 2 laps, 1 down 3 lap, and 1 down 11 laps. Jeffrey Belk trying to reel in Eddie Morris for that first place position. Last time by, the two ran identical lap times, down to the 100th of a second. Not sure who iRacing registered as faster. Eddie Morris searching for his first win of the season. Be the 6th win for CCM. I mean, regardless of whether Brian Nudie, who has dominated this race, or Eddie Morris, whether either of them win, it's going to be a win for CCM. Main driver that can spoil that is Jeffrey Belk. Eddie Morris just ran his personal best lap time of the race, 30.00. But even when he ran that, and we saw Jeffrey Belk run his personal best lap time of 30.06. But even then, Eddie Morris ran a faster lap time than him, and Brian Nudie ran a faster lap time than him. Kind of stinks when you run your very, very best, but still the cars around you, they're faster than you. So Brian Nudie, he's got an 8/10 lead over second place Jeffrey Belk. I want to quickly talk a little bit about Devin Buchno. Devin Buchno is our biggest move of the race so far. He started in 10th, and look at this. He is running in 4th place right now. What a drive it's been for Devin Buchno. He's made some good quality passes. He's had a good strategy. He's kept the car decently clean, and it all adds up. And we're seeing that there with that 4th place position. Hoping to maybe break into the top 3 if he can catch Brian Nudie. But about 1.8 seconds separates the two. So far, our biggest tough break of the race is kind of a tie between Dave Wright and Brian Merle Jr. Dave Wright, he started in that 4th place position. He was running the top 4, and then we saw he kind of tagged the wall a couple of times, and then it all just started adding up, and he fell back and back and back, and now, unfortunately, He has fallen down 2 laps after an extended stay on pit road. And I can say the same thing about Brian Merle Jr. He also was running very well at first, started in 5th, and the same kind of thing happened. He tagged the wall a couple of times, and the damage added up, and he also kind of had an extended stay on pit road, and right now both Dave and Brian Merle Jr. Oh, and speaking of Brian Merle Jr. and the wall, he hits the wall there hard. We see dust kicking up, and that is going to put some severe right side damage and cost him a lot of momentum. Joe Wright into the pits here at Darlington. Looks like last time Joe Wright came in, he did not take tires. I believe that might be the main thing that Joe Wright is going to have done here on pit road. Let's see here. Yep. It's going to be 4 tires and a drink of fuel for Joe Wright. We now are down to 5 cars on the lead lap with Joe Wright coming in. Eddie Morris, 8/10 lead over second place, Jeffrey Belk. Kind of want to talk about who is the leaders in all kinds of statistics throughout this season. So far, we have had 6 drivers make every single race. Shout out to Derek Chaput, Josh Hall, Eddie Morris, Austin Blaylock, Devin Butchnow, or I guess Austin Blaylock, not tonight. I guess now we've had 5 drivers that have made every single race. And that is Derek Chaput, Josh Hall, Eddie Morris, Devin Butchnow, and Colin Willems. So shout out to those 5 for having perfect attendance this season. The driver that has gotten the most wins this season so far is Brian Nudi. He's grabbed 3 wins. Nudi currently running in that 3rd place position. He's led a lot of laps tonight. The driver with the most poles this season is Colin Willems. He has won 2 poles. So, I mean, they're just after last season with Clint Stone's dominance of the pole category, we've had a lot of diverse pole sitters. The driver with the most top 5s this season is Colin Willems. He has gotten 7 top 5s out of 8 races, but he is running actually outside of the top 5 here tonight. He currently sits in 6th. He's hoping to get his lap back and get by Derek Chaput and break into the top 5. We have had 2 drivers that have finished in the top 10 in every single race. Colin Willems and Brian Nudi have. Colin Willems and Devin Butchnow have. So shout out to both of them for always being extremely consistent and finishing in the top 10 week in and week out. Both of them having top 10 runs here tonight. The driver with the most laps this season is Devin Butchnow. He has ran 825 laps. Colin Willems has run 824. So has Eddie Morris. So Devin Butchnow has ran 1 more lap than both of them. I assume both of them had a race where they finished down a lap. Now, this is kind of a bad statistic to be leading in. The driver with the most incidents this season is Dave Wright. In that 84 machine, he has gotten 89 incident points. Next closest is second with Josh Hall. And Intensity DBC has had a lot of instant points throughout this season. They currently lead in instant points among teams as well with 209. We got 2 drivers in the pits right now, both Wasted Wages Racing drivers. Derek Chaput and Colin Willems both in. Colin Willems had an extended stay on pit road, getting some damage fixed. Also, I believe maybe some tires and fuel on that machine. And Chaput very slow on pit road. He is limping to a stall. I don't know if he ran out of fuel or he just has got severe damage or what, but he's limping or crawling or whatever you want to say. I don't know if he's going to make it. He's down to like 8 miles per hour. 7 now. He's almost there. He's got that 7th pit stall. Oh no, he's down to 5 miles per hour. Can he make it? And he is able to make it. Looks like it's tires and fuel going on and into that number 37 machine. We got Michael Lawrence on Facebook. He says, have fun, guys. Hate I had to leave early. Well, thank you for tuning in. Sorry you had to leave early there, Michael, and hopefully you will be back next week. Looks like Brian Nudi is back to the lead. I did not catch him. Sorry I missed that. Here's a look at what happened. Brian Nudi just reeled the heck in out of Eddie Morrison. He's just able to get right by him like he was standing still. So now Brian Nudi back to first, where he has been running a lot of tonight's event. Derek Chappie going to the outside of Josh Hall. That 81 is not looking too hot. At least on the left side. Whew. That is not good there. I did see on my SDK that he had crashed. Oh! Oh my gosh, hard into the outside wall. Looks like he slams the inside wall. Man. Ouch. No caution, though. Devin Bucciano reeling in Jeffrey Belt for that 3rd place position. About 2 tenths behind him. Devin Bucciano trying to get within striking distance. And there we go. He is right there, right in the coattails of that 54 machine. He's got a big run on the Boeing backstretch into turns 3 and 4. What can that 68 machine do? And Bucciano underneath him, heading off of turn number 4. He is to his rear quarter panel. He is to his door. They are nose to nose. And there we go. He is able to get clear. Devin Bucciano into the top 3 here at Darlington. He has gone from the outhouse to the penthouse from 10th to 3rd in only 80 laps. Speaking of 80 laps, we've got 100 laps to go here at Darlington. But, man, what a run it's been so far for Devin Bucciano. Still got 2 positions to get if he wants to get up there to that 1st place spot. Now, with 3 races left to go heading into the playoffs, I also want to talk a little bit about some of our team statistics. The team with the most wins this season is CCO, and the team with perfect attendance pretty much with the most starts at least is CCM. They have 2 drivers coming into this race that have made every single race, 2 drivers that have only missed 1, or 3 drivers that have only missed 1. So shout out to CCM for showing up week in and week out. Now we have gotten, there's also the team with the most wins is CCM. They've gotten 5 wins this season. Those 5 wins coming from Brian Nudie and Austin Blaylock. Nudie with 3 wins, Blaylock with 2 wins. The team with the most top 5s this season is also CCM with 15. We see Austin Blaylock has 2 top 5s, Nudie with 5 top 5s, Eddie with 3, Dustin Dean with 3, and Joe Wright with 2. Also, the team with the most top 10s is CCM. Austin Blaylock with 6, Brian Nudie with 6, Eddie Morris with 6, Dustin Dean with 7, and Joe Wright with 5. The team with the most laps is also CCM with 2,448. And then the team with the most incidents is Intensity DBC. They have 209 incident points this season. Jeffrey Belk has 44. Josh Hall with 68. Dave Wright with 89. And David Hartney with 32. Man, looks like Intensity DBC has hit everything but the pace car this season. And there's still a lot of races left. We may see that. And lastly, the team with the most poles is CCM. Brian Nudie has gotten 1 pole, Eddie Morris has gotten 1 pole, and Dustin Dean has gotten 1 pole. So there you go. That is your stats for the teams and the drivers heading into the final few races of the season. And Brian Nudie's got a 4-second lead over second place Eddie Morris right now. I do want to also kind of talk about, I don't typically talk about this, but I want to kind of mention it. We do have a very diverse manufacturers. A lot of drivers running different stuff. We see your top 2, Brian Nudie, Eddie Morris. They're in Chevrolet Camaro. We have 5 Chevrolet Camaro drivers, Brian Nudie, Eddie Morris, Colin Willems, Derek Chaput, and David Hartney. We have also 5 Blue Ovals, Ford Mustangs, Devin Bucciano, Jeffrey Belk, Brian Merle Jr., Josh Hall, and Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence. And then lastly, we have 2 Toyotas, and that is the Wright brothers of Joe and Dave Wright. So 5 Chevys, 5 Fords, and then 2 Toyotas. It's kind of like NASCAR where Ford and Chevrolet have the most cars, and then there's just a few Toyotas. But shout out to the Wright brothers for representing Toyota. And we have officially, or we are about to hit the halfway point here at Darlington as Brian Nudie crosses the start-finish line. 90 laps to go here in this race. At this time, I'm going to turn up the volume, pump up the intensity. Here you will get to see the sights and hear the sounds of the racetrack. Here we go. that will do it for Pump Up the Intensity. Hopefully you enjoy us turning up the volume. As we look back, we currently have 5 laps to go until the final stage break that we will have. As we go into stage number 3, which will be an 80-lap shootout. And I believe in this one, we will actually see the leaders make some green flag pit stops. So heading into the stage break, we have 4 drivers on the lead lap, 1 driver down a lap, 1 driver 2 laps down, 1 driver 3 laps down, 2 drivers 4 laps down, 1 driver in the pits. Now we actually have, and then we have a driver 12 laps down. Josh Hall into the pits. Looks like he does not have a front bumper on that 81 machine. Looks like it's going to be tires and a drink of fuel for that 81. Good thing this is not a super speedway, or Josh Hall would be in last, most likely. It's going to be an extended stay for Josh Hall on pit road, as I think he's going to try to get all of that damage fixed. As you could see, it was a lot. See Colin Willems trailing Brian Nudi, trying to get his lap back. Colin, currently 3 laps down. If he gets by Nudi, he will be only 2 laps down now. Brian Merle Jr. into the pits, and Brian Merle Jr. manually disconnected. I saw that he had crashed. Let's take a look what happened to him. Looks like he just goes down to the bottom of the racetrack. What in the world? Looks like he just made contact off of 4 there. I mean, he was still rolling. Then he just goes down to the bottom of the racetrack. And after that, we just see him manually disconnect. Wow. That's unfortunate there for Brian Merle Jr. We saw both of the McKinleyville natives in the field manually disconnect here. And look at that. The stage break caution is out. Your top 10 is Brian Nudi, Eddie Morris, Devin Buccineau, Jeffrey Belk, Joe Wright, Dave Wright, Colin Willems, Derek Chaput, Brian Merle Jr., and Josh Hall. There we go. Sorry, SDK was messed up a little bit there. We've got drivers coming into the pits. Brian Nudi, Eddie Morris, Devin Buccineau, Jeffrey Belk. All making that hard left turn onto pit road. Whoever wins the race off will be the leader. Brian Nudi, he has the advantage. He does have that first pit stall. We see Joe Wright getting his lap back. Dave Wright is now only down 1 lap. Colin Willems is only down 1 lap. Tires for Nudie. Tires for Morris. See, tires for Belk. Tires for Butchino, and Brian Nudie wins the race off of pit road. Then it's Eddie Morris. Then it is going to be Devin Butchino. And then Jeffrey Belk will be the 4th driver off of pit road, looks like. Looks like he's going to have an extended stay, got some damage to get fixed. Same thing with Devin Butchino. He was down there a little bit longer than I think he wanted to be. So I believe after this, we will have one more pit stop. And then these drivers should be able to make it the rest of the way. Unless a caution comes out, these pit stops will be under green. So for the leaders, this will be the first green flag pit stop that they'll have to experience. Both Wright brothers, Joe Wright and Dave Wright, they are into the pits. Looks like it is tires and fuel. Same thing for Joe. Now let's do a flyby of the field. And like I mentioned, tonight is throwback night. Let's take a look at some of the throwbacks. First of all, we have Brian Nudie in the 40 machine. He's got the Sterling Marlin throwback. But instead of Coors Light, it is Dev's Sports Cards. We see the mountains and the sports cards. Really cool car for Brian Nudie. We've got Eddie Morris. He is in the 8 car, running the Dale Jr. All-Star Game 2001 throwback as his Bud car. Awesome car for Eddie Morris. Then we have Devin Butchino in the 68 machine. And the throwback that he is running is Janet Guthrie. Janet was a NASCAR driver who ran the 68 car, and just like Janet, Devin Butchino also runs the 68. So typically what Devin does is he tries to pick drivers who have run his same number. And so he is running that car as well. So those are a look at some of the 3 throwbacks that we have tonight. We'll take a look at some others throughout the night. But your top 3 all have wonderful, wonderful cars. Pace car is in. Green flag is back out here at Darlington. That will be the last race control caution. If we have a caution that will come out, it will be for an on-track incident. You could throw a blanket over the top 4 right now. I'm sure Morris, Butchino, and Belk like to be bunched up for that restart because now they can try to get some positions. Morris trying to reel in his teammate Brian Nudie. Morris and Nudie have really been our only 2 leaders throughout tonight's event, at least under green flag conditions. But Brian extending that gap. Devin Butchino trying to reel in Eddie Morris for that 2nd place position. He's got a big run on the Boeing backstretch. That 68's looking like a Boeing airplane as he closes that gap bit by bit. And at this stage of the race, impatience starts to build up more and more and more. Dang, look at that. Brian Nudie just ran the fastest lap time of the race with a 29.87. That 40 car is digging right now. Specifically, Brian Nudi. That is an incredible lap time. It's about a 10th faster than the next best one that we have seen tonight. Only 2 drivers have been able to break into the 29s. And again, Brian Nudi will improve with a 29.79. Oh my goodness. We've only had 2 drivers break into the 29s tonight. That's Brian Nudi and Eddie Morris. Brian Nudi ran a 29.79, while Eddie Morris ran a 29.98. Whew. Brian. He is flying. That was not meant to rhyme, but there you go. Here is some of our other throwbacks. Well, we got a little opportunity. This is Jeffrey Belk, and he is running a throwback to his first ever win here in the SCSRA Xfinity Series, and this one also came at Darlington. We have kind of the, I guess you could say, duct tape numbers. It's kind of what it's meant to look like. Joe Wright running his normal Blue Team Alpha paint scheme. Colin Willems running his normal Wasted Wages Racing paint scheme. And Dave Wright is running his normal Jordan car. Then our next throwback, or it was, looks like Derek Chappie was now mainly disconnected as well. Chappie was running a Dustin Dean tribute. Or I guess, I don't know. It's whatever you want to call it. It might be a throwback, a tribute, something. It's whatever you want to call it. It's his paint scheme's based off of Dustin Dean. We saw like the Dean's eye designs on there, so. Another one of our paint schemes is Josh Hall, and even though it's starting to look less and less like an actual race car, you can still see a little bit of what it's meant to look like, and it's meant to look like Rusty Wallace's Miller Genuine Draft card. Or just Rusty's Miller Lite car. So Josh Hall repping number 2, but instead he is number 81. And we see, and our last throwback to look at is David Hartney, who is running a SDP car, which may be based off of one of the SDP cars that have been run, whether it may be Richard Petty or Bobby Hamilton or John Andretti, whichever one. I think it might be Bobby Hamilton. We see the King is on the rear there. There you go. So that is your throwbacks tonight. We got a Sterling Marlin car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. car, a Devin Butch or a Janet Guthrie car, Jeffrey Belk throwing it back to himself, Josh Hall throwing it back to Rusty Wallace. We saw Derek Chappie. He had a Dustin Dean car based off of Dustin Dean's former Dean's iDesign wrap, and then David Hartney and a Bobby Hamilton car. This point in the race, here are my ones to watch tonight. Starting off, Brian Nudi. He has absolutely dominated this race. Was fast in practice, started on the pole, and has led majority of the laps so far. And he's got the fastest lap time of the race. He is not showing signs of quitting anytime soon. And, of course, he's done great at saving tires. He's made the least amount of mistakes. If he can keep up what he's doing, then he will be in victory lane here for the Southern 245. Another driver to keep your eye out on is Eddie Morris. Eddie started in second place. He's been kind of riding in his teammates' coattails for a lot of tonight's event. But Eddie Morris has led some laps. He's shown some speed, and he just maybe needs to pick up a little bit more speed, or maybe he just needs to have a little bit of a better pitch strategy or something. He just needs to figure out what he needs to do to get by Brian Newty, and he will get up to that first place spot. Eddie Morris might be one mistake away from Brian Newty from getting that first place spot. Watch out for Devin Butchno. He currently runs in third place. He is the biggest mover of the race. Started in 10th, currently runs in the top 3. He is very good at these kind of driver's tracks. He won at Nashville Super Speedway in Season 2, another very abrasive track that is difficult, where it's very easy to tag the outside wall. So Devin Butchno, he's always king at the driver tracks. And he is right. He's not too far behind your leaders. He's only 2 seconds off of Brian Newty. He is a few steps away from getting up there. And then lastly, watch out for Jeffrey Belk. Jeffrey Belk's another driver that has really shown himself to be good at the driver tracks. He is only 4 seconds off your leader, Brian Newty. He's shown a lot of speed tonight. And he's got a great track record here in the Xfinity Series. The only other time the SCSRA Xfinity Series ran here, Jeffrey Belk, he won the race. That was back in Season 2, so Jeffrey Belk wanting to try to remain undefeated at Darlington here tonight, but he's got his work cut out for him. We saw Colin Willems into the pits, 4 tires and fuel for that 17 machine. And big tough break for Brian Merle Jr. Jr. started this race in 5th, but after some hits to the wall, some tough breaks, fortunately, we saw him manually disconnect, and he is going to finish this race in 11th. So, fortunate there for Brian Merle Jr., but just on to next week for him. Like I mentioned, though, Devin Butchno, biggest mover of the race, started in 10th, currently runs in 3rd. That's 7 spots since the green flag dropped. He's made some good quality passes. He's had a good pit strategy. And he's just been showing a lot of speed here tonight. So continue to watch out for Devin Butchno. So right now, Brian Newty's got a 3-second lead. Here's a flyby through the field. Brian Newty currently leads. He's got a 3-second lead over second place Eddie Morris. Eddie Morris currently resides in 2nd. Lurking right behind him is Devin Butchno. 4th is Jeffrey Belk. Then running at your top 5, that is Joe Wright. In 6th, there's Dave Wright. 7th is Colin Willems. 8th, got Josh Hall. And then 9th is David Hartney, Derek Chaput, Brian Merle Jr., and Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence. They have all manually disconnected. And Devin Butchno side by side with Eddie Morris for 2nd. He's got the nose heading off of turn number 4, but a big run on the outside for Eddie Morris. Looks like he is able to get back clear of Devin Butchno, but Devin Butchno, he is within striking distance. He is right on the back bumper, or he's right within the coattails of Eddie Morris, just waiting for the right time to try to make another move. Man, he is right there, peaking low. And there we go. He makes the move heading into 3 and 4. Buccino with the nose. Buccino is clear. Devin Buccino to position number 2. He is one spot away from the lead. David Hartney currently sits on pit road. Looks like it's tires and fuel for that 43 machine. And he's off. I do want to quickly say, for those of you who are NASCAR fans, make sure to join the Intensity Broadcasting NASCAR Fantasy Live League. It is open to everyone, and come try to beat the broadcasters. There's only been one race so far in the NASCAR season, so you still have plenty of time to try to compete for the championship. So I'm actually going to post the league in the chat. Go join it and come try to beat the broadcasters. We've got some drivers in the field tonight in the league. Josh Hall, who broadcasts on Tuesdays, he's in it. Eddie Morris, who's running tonight, he's in it. I'm in it. Come try to beat me. Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence is in it. So we got some big names running in the league. So come try to beat the broadcasters and beat the racers. Jeffrey Belk, he is coming up on Joe Wright fast for that 4th place position. Jeffrey Belk right there within striking distance. Last time by, though, he was about 4/10 off of Joe. And looks like Joe is able to pull him a little bit. And yeah, he's extending that gap. Big run, though, for 3 and 4 for Jeffrey Belk. Trying to close that gap up a little bit. But it's no use. Joe Wright has got a fast Toyota Supra, and he's able to get away. Next week, we are going to be... Oh, that is going to be fun. Next week, the Looney Bin is going to be released at the High Banks of Bristol Motor Speedway for 150 laps of racing action. You are not going to want to miss that. When these SCSRA drivers hit these short tracks, it is an incredible sight to see. Also, make sure to turn on your notifications because we are going to have a fun race tomorrow in a different series, the Thunderstruck Legend Series. We are going to be at the Bull Ring at Las Vegas for some legend car racing. That is going to be a fun race to watch. So if you're a big fan of short track racing or legends racing, make sure to turn on your notifications on for that. And then coming up on Sunday, we have the iRacing Northern Super Series. I'll just tell you what all we have coming up. We have the iRacing North Super Series that'll be coming up. It is super late models. So definitely consider tuning into that. It's always some great short track racing there, broadcasted by our very own Josh Hall. Then on Mondays, make sure to check out the Thunderstruck Super Series Street Stocks. That's also a great short track series to tune into, broadcasted by our very own Joe Wright. And then On Tuesdays, we have our other SCSRA series, the SCSRA Morris Customs Truck Series, where they take on these NASCAR tracks and fantastic drivers, really great, clean racing. So definitely make sure to check out that. We've got a great lineup of series all week long, so make sure to turn on your notification bells so you do not miss a second of the action here on Intensity Broadcasting. You want to say this again? I want to give a big shout out and congratulations to Brett Merle. Might be wondering, well, why isn't Brett Merle here tonight? Well, him and his wife just had a baby. So congratulations to Brett and his wife on the new bundle of joy. And hopefully he can get back and running in the series soon. But in the meantime, congratulations, Brett, on the new baby. And hopefully we'll see you soon. We've got two drivers on pit road, Joe Wright and Josh Hall. Looks like it is tires and fuel for Joe Wright. And I believe the pit stop window is open for the final green flag pit stops of the night. Josh Hall takes his faster pair. It's going to be tires and fuel for that 81 machine. Looks like he finally has a front bumper again. That's good. Devin Buccino is now into the pits. Woo. See quite the Darlington stripe on that 68 machine. Jeffrey Belk following right behind him into the pits. He's also got some right side damage. I assume both of them are getting tires and fuel for these last laps. And we've got Dave Wright into the pits now. Eddie Morris into the pits. And that will just leave, I believe, Brian Nudi as the last driver that needs to make a green flag pit stop. Actually, I don't think Colin Willems or David Hartney has yet. So Brian Nudi, he's got the whole field down a lap here at Darlington. That is incredible. This is domination at its purest here tonight at Darlington. And we're seeing it from Mr. Brian Nudi, who even though he's not the point standings leader, he's got the most wins this season with 3, trying to add win number 4 tonight. There we see Nudi into the pits. So Brian Nudi, the last driver that needs to come in among the top 5. So that will put Joe Wright on the lead lap, Devin Buccino on the lead lap, Eddie Morris on the lead lap, Jeffrey Belk on the lead lap. Colin Willems gets one of his laps back. And there we go. That is 4 tires and fuel for Brian Nudi. And he's off. David Hartney in now for his final pit stop of the race. So that leaves pretty much just Colin Willems that needs to come in. So Brian Newty, he was able to make it in and make it out, and he might be able to still keep the lead. Yes, he will. Incredibly executed. Brian Newty will keep it in the lead. He gets in and gets out. Oh, we see Joe Wright into the outside wall there. That will cost him a ton of momentum, and Devin Butchino able to get right up to him. He looks low here on the front stretch, but it looks like he got kind of caught up behind Joe, and that also cost him some momentum. Devin Butchino right on his back bumper, looking low off of 2. Saw Joe Wright blinked a little bit there. There we go. Butchino to the rear quarter panel. Again, Joe blinking out a little bit. Joe, he's got the nose heading off of turn number 4 there. The outside prevails, and oh no! Joe Wright's around into the inside wall. Wow. That was a crazy turn of events right there. We see Joe Wright is down pace, and Jeffrey Belk able to get by him. What in the world just happened? We see Butchino, Wright running side by side, heading onto the front stretch. And looks like Joe Wright maybe thought he had a little bit more room than he did. Comes down the racetrack. You can see it. Watch those left side tires on the seam, on the seam, on the seam, on the seam. Down, 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 down. It did also look like maybe Devin came up a little bit as well. Both drivers may be fighting for the same real estate. Joe Wright getting some airtime. But fortunately, Joe Wright falls to 5th. Devin Butchino gets some damage. Not what either of them wanted. I would say that was just a racing incident. 2 drivers fighting for the same real estate and didn't work out. Did look like Joe came down a little bit more than I think he maybe have wanted to. Maybe thought he had a little bit more room than he did. With 30 laps to go, Brian Newty has a 5-second lead over second place Devin Butchino. Quickly want to talk a little bit about very quickly our web store. Yes, we have a web store. That is intensitybroadcasting.com. The intensitybroadcasting.com features merchandise from your favorite broadcaster, your favorite drivers, your favorite leagues, and so much more. We've got all of our Intensity Broadcasting merchandise on there. Shirts, hats, mugs, stickers, mouse pads, polo shirts. We have a bunch of Atlee Weiss Racing merchandise. I race in real life, so if you want to help support my real life racing endeavors, make sure to go pick up some of my merchandise. We've got a bunch of cool auto racing novelty items, from t-shirts to onesies to even boxer briefs. We've got it all there on our auto racing novelty section. Make sure to go check out our driver collections. We've got the Carson Hayslip collection, the Raven Kimball collection, and the Phoenix Kimball collection. Go support some local short track legends drivers by picking up some of their merchandise. Hayslip and both Kimballs run all across the East Coast, so if you want to help support their real life racing endeavors, go pick up some of their merchandise. We have our lifestyle collections, the Underwear collection and the Carefree collection. Carefree collection consists of the What the Fluff t-shirt and the Dockside sweatshirt. And then we have a whole plethora of items for the Underwear with the Hund gear, or the Hund logo. We've got our team collection, and that collection is Dylan Spain Motorsports. Dylan Spain Motorsports is a legend and bandolero team that runs all across the East Coast, so if you want to support his racing endeavors, then make sure to go pick up some of Dylan's merchandise. Does a great job. And then lastly, make sure to go check out our league collections, especially make sure to check out the SCSRA collection, where you can pick up an SCSRA t-shirt. The SCSRA t-shirt comes in 5 different colors: black, navy, red, and red sport gray, and white, in sizes small to 5XL. It's a 100% cotton heavyweight tee, and it feels really, really comfortable. It's very, very trendy, so make sure to go and pick one up. So there you go. Make sure to go check out IntensityBroadcasting.com for all things Intensity, iRacing, and short track racing. Looks like David Hartney has officially caught and gotten by Josh Hall for that 9th place spot. Both of them 13 laps down, so they are fighting for position, and David Hartney able to get by him. Hartney running about 2 seconds faster than Josh. Colin Willems is into the pits. Fun. So this is his last pit stop that he needs. And then he can make it the rest of the way. Brian Newdy, he's got a 10-second lead over second place Devin Buccineau. With less than 25 laps to go, it's looking pretty good for Brian Newdy, but anything can still happen. That is the beauty of auto racing. It is not over until it is over. Newdy could blow a tire. He could have the motor blow. He could tag the outside wall. He can spin out. Something can happen with his internet. Anything can happen here on iRacing and in auto racing. So it is not over until it's over. And Devin Buccineau is hoping for all of those things to happen. Tire blow, motor blow, internet issue. He's hoping for any of that stuff. Devin Buccineau also kind of hoping for a caution. He's like, man, I feel like it's raining a little bit. Four drivers on the lead lap here at Darlington. Eddie Morris has fallen down a lap after running in the top 2 for a little bit. Or for a lot of tonight's event, actually. He actually led some laps, so tough break for Eddie Morris. Joe Wright in 4th has been a big mover tonight. He started the race in 8th, but he has since worked his way up to 4th, has made some good passes, has had a good pit strategy, and he's had some great pace. As I say that, looks like Joe Wright tags the outside wall a little bit there. Hopefully that wasn't an announcer jinx. Laps to go here at Darlington. Newdy, 12-second lead over Devin Buccineau. Again, Newdy looking good, but this thing is not over until it's over. Anything can still happen. All right. Of course, Brian Nudi, this throwback 90s, running a Sterling Marlin throwback to his Coors Light cars. Really cool scheme. Believe it was done by Morris Customs. Yeah, I see that logo. So shout out to Eddie Morris. He does a great job with paint schemes. There's his Facebook right there, actually, right as I was saying that. He sponsors the Truck Series. He's definitely the guy that you want to contact for all things iRacing paint schemes. Does a phenomenal, phenomenal job. I want to talk a little bit about the goals that we are trying to reach. We are trying to reach 2,500 followers on Facebook. Right now, we're at about 2,200 followers. Only got 300 more to go, so make sure to drop us a follow on Facebook, on YouTube. Our goal on there is 1,000 or 1,000 subscribers. We're at 683, so only 400 subscribers off. Make sure to subscribe to us on there. And then, of course, make sure to also visit us on Twitch. And make sure to drop us a follow on there. And, of course, always make sure to check out our Twitter, Intensity Broad 1. We're always dropping polls and interacting with our viewers on there. And our goal on there is to 100 followers. We're at 87, so we are right there, almost there. Have less than 20 to go. So make sure to drop a follow on the Twitter. There's Brian Nudi coming up on some lap traffic here. 11 laps to go for that 40 machine. Trying to finish this race out. This race, we have been racing for an hour and 30 minutes. So these drivers have been working their wheels, staring at a screen for an hour and 30 minutes. That is crazy. I'm sure a lot of the drivers may be getting a little bit fatigued after we have been racing for so long, and especially at such a difficult track. Got 10 more laps. Now 9 as Brian Nudi crosses the start-finish line. He's got an 11-second gap between him and Devin Bucciano. Looking good for Nudi. He just got to hang on to it for these next 9 laps. Oh, Joe right into the outside wall. That might be another factor. The only other factor that could potentially prevent Nudi from winning, I would say, is lap traffic. So hopefully Nudi can get by Joe here without any problems. Joe is his teammate, so I don't think he would intentionally give Nudi any problems. And thank you, everyone who has tuned in to watch tonight. It's been a bit of a long one. And we have Bennett Jewett tune in to watch tonight. Owner of Crippen Ain't Easy Racing. So thanks so much for tuning in to watch tonight, Bennett. Appreciate the kind words. And as Brian Nudie heads off of turn number 4, he will make it 5 laps to go. That's 20 more turns. And he will be a race winner for the 4th time this season. It has been an absolute domination of a season for Brian Nudie. He has won 3 of the 7 races he has run. If he wins tonight, he will have won 4 out of the 8 races that he has won, which means he'll have run 50% of the races he has won. He's gotten a pole this season. He got the pole tonight, giving him a 2nd pole. He'll have grabbed his 6th top 5 of the season, 7th top 10. And it'll get him 1 step closer to the point standings lead. I think he'll get by Austin Blaylock in the points, just because he's missed tonight's event. It's been a rough go at it for Colin Willems. That'll also maybe put Nudie closer to Colin. So after early on a rough go at it for Nudie, he's really making a comeback and showing us why he is the championship favorite. If he does not win the championship, I am going to be very, very surprised. Of course, there's a lot of other tough competitors. Devin Bushino, Colin Willems, Eddie Morris, Jeffrey Belk, Joe Wright. They're going to be fighting all the rest of the season long, but Brian Nudie, definitely the championship favorite. Speaking of Joe Wright, we see he's on the outside of the wall, on the outside wall. Brian Nudie, we're 3 wide on the front stretch. Now we're 2 wide. Joe Wright dropping out. That was scary there for a second. I'm sure Brian Nudie was holding his breath, hoping that that wasn't how he's going to lose the race. He hangs on to it. 2 laps to go. Heading into turn 4. And on to the front stretch. Brian Nudie will take the white flag. 4 more turns and he will win the Southern 245. It has been an absolutely dominant performance for Brian Nudie. He's put all but 2 drivers a lap down. He's led majority of the laps, started on the pole, was fast in practice. It has just been an all-around phenomenal day for Brian Nudie. And of course, after a phenomenal day, you've got to cap it off with a win, and he will. Santa Rosa, California's Brian Nudie wins the Southern 245 here at Darlington Raceway. What a race for Brian Nudie. He grabs his 4th win of the season. He has won 50% of the races he has run. Absolutely incredible for Brian Nudie. This is exactly the season that he has wanted. And we've got your top 2, maybe about to be top 3. There we go. Got the top 3 parking it on the front stretch. And Brian Nudie burning it down here at Darlington. And there's the Polish victory lap for that 40 machine. Popularized by the Lay Down Cole Wiki. Brian Nudi in the Sterling Marlin car tonight here at Darlington. He is victorious, waving at all the fans if he could. And I'm sure all of the Brian Nudi fans watching tonight, they are very, very happy. There we go. Nudi bringing it to the front stretch. And more burnouts for the 40 machine. We've got Brian Nudi. Look at that. Incredible drive by that 40 machine. He is happy after this one. 4th win of the season. And there we go. The motor finally blew after a long celebration. All right, it's now time for the driver interviews. We are going to start off by pulling in the man from Newcastle, Delaware. Let's pull in Mr. Jeffrey Belk. Jeff, this is Atlee in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, how you doing, Atlee?
Doing pretty good up here in the booth. Looks like started in 3rd, finished exactly where you started, and sometimes, I mean, that's a good thing considering you didn't lose any spots throughout tonight's event. I know you're very good at Darlington, and coming into tonight, I know you were kind of hoping of kind of hanging on to that streak of remaining undefeated here at Darlington, but it didn't all go your way. Had a couple tough breaks hitting the outside wall, but you were still able to hang on for the podium. I mean, I know this track is super, super difficult. I mean, how are you able to handle it tonight?
Yeah, I mean, even without the wall contacts, we didn't have the car. We had no rotation mid-corner, so we just couldn't get off the corner. Props to Brian. He was able to just wheel that thing around all race long. But, you know, we tried different pit strategies. We tried different driving strats just to try to change something up, to try to save the tire. You know, we just couldn't pull it off.
Now, Darlington, very abrasive surface, absolutely destroys the tires. What's the key to saving tires here?
I am not the person to ask that currently because at the end of the second stage, my tire was down to about 35%.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
That's why they call this place too tough to tame, and we saw you were not able to tame it with a win, but still, podium, great run. Before we let you go, is there any sponsors or shout-outs?
Yeah, you know, as always, Dirtbag Clothing Company for being on the car. We got the throwback tonight to the first SCSRA race we've won here. You know, W Energy, Pigloo Gear, Weak Designs, Equipment Geek, Sports Star Shock. Everyone for tuning in, and of course, Intensity Broadcasting for putting out such great production work week in, week out.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and awesome run tonight here at Darlington, and hopefully we will get you back here in the broadcasting room soon. Have a great rest of your night, Jeff.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. All right, let's now pull in your second place finisher from Plattsburgh, New York. He was your SCSRA champion in the Xfinity Series last season in Season 3 and the Truck Series in Season 1. He's got 16 career SCSRA wins, your biggest mover of the race. Let's pull in Devin Butchino. Devin, this is Atlee in the broadcast room. Do you have a copy?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Awesome. Well, great drive tonight. You were our biggest mover of the race. After starting in 10th, you were able to work your way up through the field and work your way all the way up to a podium in that runner-up spot. I mean, what was the key to your race tonight, being able to get all those cars and pass all those cars and have to work your way up after not having an ideal starting position?
I think it's a lot of patience. We would have been on the front row if we didn't get a piece of the wall in qualifying. It's such a fine line of being fast here and getting a piece of the wall. But you know, I think we kind of drove all three stages different. The first stage we drove a little too soft. trying to save fuel, which we couldn't make it the entire way anyway. Second one, we were able to drive a little harder because the pace laps at the end of the stage helped us make it. And then the last two, splitting it into about 40 and 40, we could really get after it. So they kind of just were different stages each time. Didn't think we had top 3 speed. I mean, Nudie was by far class of the field. Congrats to him. And then it looks like as the race went on, we just found a little bit better long run speed than Jeff and Eddie. They were both lightning fast today. So just tried to keep it in one piece. I gotta apologize to Joe. I was trying to side draft him there. Got a piece of him. It's not like me, and it doesn't make things better for either of us losing our 0Xs, but definitely was not malicious intent there with Joe. I would never do something like that to just hook him on the straightaway. So I just want to apologize to Joe.
Now, I mean, is there anything you think you maybe could have done differently to change the result of this race?
I don't think so. This is just, I mean, some guys have their tracks where they have it figured out, and Nudie, we could, first half of the run, I think we could keep decent pace or only lose 2 or 3 seconds, which felt like a win. But on the tail end of the run, he was just taking off from us. I mean, at the end of the run before the last pit stop, he was clocking off like 6/10 a lap. So I mean, and I was backing up the corners a ton, trail braking a ton, and I don't know how I could have saved tires and been faster. So I don't think so here today. It's another second place finish in Xfinity, which stinks. We're very close a lot this season. We just got to figure out that next step to get it.
Now, before we let you go, Devin, is there any sponsors or shout-outs?
Yeah, I want to thank you, Atman, for these double points races, staying up past your bedtime. I'm sure this is a long one. Appreciate everything you and your dad do for us. It's never goes unappreciated. All the admin team, Nudie, Sylvan, Hartney, Eddie, everyone for showing up tonight. I really appreciate them taking time out of their day on Tuesdays and Wednesdays to race, and then just Dev Sports Cards, Morse Customs, McKinleyville Barbershop, and New Craft Fine Jewelry and Design.
Awesome. Well, congrats on the runner-up, Devin, and hopefully we'll get you back in the broadcasting room soon. Have a great rest of your night.
You too, man. Appreciate it.
And now let's pull in your winner from Santa Rosa, California. He was your SCSRA Truck Series champion in Season 1. Let's go ahead and pull in Brian Nudie. Brian, this is Atlan in the broadcast room. Do you have a copy?
I got you, buddy.
Awesome. Well, absolutely dominating performance here tonight at Darlington. You led majority of the laps, started on the pole. I mean, nobody could even touch you. I mean, what was your key to your win tonight?
Just tires, trying to save my tires best I could. Just kind of back off and just, it actually kind of helped in that very first run. I had to back off and save some fuel, and I was able to save my tires quite a bit, and I kind of found something in that, and then I just kind of used it the rest of the race, and then just got better there after that.
Yeah, it just looked like as the run went on, honestly, it looked like you just kept getting better and better and better. So, I mean, this is a really, really tough track. I mean, what's the key to mastering this place?
Just the biggest thing is just trying to save your tires. Just drag that brake going into the corner, and then you gotta clip the apron going into 1 and coming out of 2, and then you gotta ride the wall in the middle of the corner, and that's where all your speed is. If you can do that, then just get through 3 and 4 pretty decent, then there's a lot of speed there, and you can save your tires. You just have to try to arc the going into the 1 and 2 as much as possible, and that'll save all your tires.
Now, before we let you go, Nudie, is there any sponsors or shout-outs you'd like to thank for your 4th win of the season?
Oh, as always, I got to thank my beautiful wife for letting me do this. I got to give a shout-out to you up in the booth doing an awesome job. All my teammates over at CCM. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of rough go with Joe and Eddie there. Eddie forgot to put fuel in the car in that last pit stop, and Joe unfortunately got tied up with Butchino there. But other than that, great run all around, and as always, got to thank Gill's Dump Truck Service and Pizzeria, the fastest dump trucks in the Northwest.
Awesome. Well, again, congrats on your 4th win of the season, and hopefully we might see a couple of more throughout the rest of the season. Have a great rest of your night, Brian.
Yep, thanks, sir.
No problem. All right, well, that will do it for tonight's event. One more time, congratulations to Brian Nudie on his 4th win of the season. I want to give a huge shout out to all of the league admins, Brian Nudie, David Hartney, Eddie Morris, Sylvain Seagoin, and Devin Butchno. Thank you to all of them for all that they do. Without them, this league would not run as smoothly as it does. Thank you to series sponsor Dev Sports Cards and Devin Butchno for all of their support of the league and of Intensity Broadcasting. Thank you much for them, and thank you so much to the Butt Kicker for partnering with Intensity Broadcasting. I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to watch tonight. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Intensity Broadcasting on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, as that would be greatly appreciated. We're trying to reach our goals of 2,500 followers on Facebook, 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and 1,000 followers on Twitch. Make sure to visit our Twitter page, Intensity Broad 1. We're always dropping polls and interacting with our viewers on there, and we're so close to 100 followers on the Twitter. And lastly, make sure to check out our web store, intensitybroadcasting.com. There we've got merchandise from your favorite broadcaster, your favorite drivers, your favorite leagues, and so much more. We've got all of our Intensity Broadcasting merchandise on there. At Luis Racing merchandise, a bunch of cool auto racing novelty items, our driver collections, our lifestyle collections, our team collections, and of course our league collections. Make sure to check out the SCSRA section of the league collections and pick up an SCSRA t-shirt that comes in 5 snazzy colors and sizes small to 5XL. Also, I will say this, make sure to visit our NASCAR Fantasy Live League and come try to beat the broadcasters. I put the link to it in the chat. We've only gotten 1 race in so far with the Daytona 500, so it's still not too late to join, so make sure to join up. And again, come try to beat me, Josh Hall, and the rest of the broadcasters. I'm Atlee Atman-Least on behalf of the entire Intensity Broadcasting team. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Over and out.